Attention SMP artists, are you looking to take your business to the next level? It's time to fully systemize your studio for growth with the ultimate sales and marketing platform for SMP artists, HighLead. With HighLead, you get everything that you need to save time and effortlessly generate more consultations and bookings on autopilot. And guess what? HighLead is not just a system, but also one of the largest Google ad agencies in the world for SMP professionals. Imagine having a marketing strategy that's tailor-made for the SMP industry, driving high-quality leads right to your studio. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding the latest marketing trend. HighLead has you covered. Invested into your training? Check. Invested into your equipment and studio setup? Check. Now it's time to invest into your marketing strategy. Don't risk your marketing budget on anything else until you've experienced HighLead's growth system and Google Ads services. Visit GoHighLead.com today to book a free demo now and join the hundreds of SMP artists who've embraced HighLead to thrive in their businesses. On the free no-obligation demo call, a member of HighLead's team will answer all of your questions and help you unlock the potential of your SMP studio by getting you more bookings. Visit GoHighLead.com today.
Yo, SMP and PMU artists, let me put you on game. I'm David Santiago with Hustle Butter, and if you're not using our products in your studio yet, you're missing out. For real. This isn't just some aftercare bomb. Hustle Butter is a full line of premium products trusted by top SMP and PMU artists worldwide, including moi. I use it during every session and make sure my clients leave with it in hand. But here's the real play. You can become an authorized Hustle Butter wholesaler. That means discounted pricing, a dedicated rep, and $40 off your first order. Stock your studio, resell to your clients, and create a solid stream of extra income. Artists and studios around the world are selling Hustle Butter every single day. Why not you? Sign up takes less than 60 seconds. Head to hustlebutter.com, click wholesale, and lock it in. This is Hustle Butter, and you already know you can't knock the hustle.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, David Santiago, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that every SMP artist asks about: Facebook ads. I get this question all the time. Who runs your ads? Well, today I'm bringing the man behind the screen, Mr. James Viola, the owner of Seven Figure SMP, a marketing company that specializes in getting real results for scalp micropigmentation artists. Not only does James run my Facebook ads, but he's helped other artists fill their calendars, grow their presence, and level up their business the right way. Keywords, the right way. And in this episode, we're going to pull back the curtains on what works, what doesn't, and how to set yourself apart in this industry. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in the game for a while, this one's going to be packed with tons of value. So let's get right into it. James, welcome on to the show. Can you kick things off by introducing yourself and telling us how Seven Figure SMP came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having me on, David. And as far as how Seven Figure SMP came to be, it's an interesting story. So I actually had a successful marketing agency before I ever even knew about scalp micropigmentation, right? So I started my agency in 2016, mostly working with doctors and lawyers with a couple other random clients thrown in here and there. And then, around 2018 is when my hair loss started to be significant enough for me to want to do something about it. And that's probably the first time I saw scalp micropigmentation pop up in my feed. Of course, like many prospects that you deal with, I didn't pull the trigger right away. But eventually I did end up getting it done by Topline SMP in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. My guys, Tim and Alex down there, who I know you know as well.
Shout out to Tim and Alex.
Yep. And, I was in Norwood 7. I have a large head, so we spent a lot of time together. And by the end of my third session, they actually ended up asking me if I would run some campaigns for them because, they were kind of sick of the agency that they were working with at the time. Tell me if you've heard that story before, right? So at that time, because I had never done anything in the aesthetic space, I told them, hey guys, I'm happy to test it out, but I really have no idea whether or not it's actually going to work for you. Right. So it's a little bit different than the conversations that I have now because we have so much data at this point. But, back then I literally had no idea whether it was going to work or not. We ended up launching them at the beginning of 2020, which was weird timing because of COVID and all that. But it was actually a very good time to be advertising, right? So because of that, we actually had a great deal of success right out of the gate. We were running ads for them across 5 different channels, not just Facebook and Instagram, but obviously that'll be kind of the focal point of what we talk about today is what we've been able to do on the meta side specifically. And yeah, that really we kind of built our system out around them for the better part of 2 years before we ever started offering it to other clinics throughout the country and Canada and UK and Australia. At this point, we work with just over 180 different artists worldwide. So it's been a wild ride, and it's been a fun one as well.
So a couple of things before I'm gonna tie it into the next question. One, your SMP looks phenomenal. They did a great job.
Thank you.
Shout out to Top Line. They'll
5 years
have to
old
give us.
5 years old and no touch-ups, bro. 5 years old and no touch-ups. So
it looks good, but they're gonna have to give us 10% from whatever proceeds come out of that, little plug, right? And then the second thing, I noticed the purple background, brother. It suits you good. I thought I was the only one that could pull it off, but it looks good.
Usually I do red or blue. But I figured, kind of, a hats off to, the man himself when it comes to SMP
I
content.
appreciate that, brother. But it looks great, brother. It looks great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right? And so now, what exactly made you decide to focus specifically on the SMP industry when it comes to marketing? Was it because you got the SMP done and you now know the power of it? So like the marketing side of you was just like, whoa, if it has this effect on me, I could only imagine like if we can get this out to the masses, like I'm on to something here.
Yeah. So it was a combination of things. I have nothing against doctors and lawyers. I still have some of them that have stayed clients with me all this time. But I don't have any like personal affinity, for those fields, right? Whereas, like you just mentioned, because I've actually been a client, I do kind of have a personal affinity for scalp micropigmentation. The other thing is, the business owners themselves tend to be, remind me of myself when I was first bootstrapping my agency, right? There's a lot of parallels between kind of the marketing agency space and the SMP space in terms of, you have certain people who, make more money from teaching it than actually doing it. And, that type of thing. And they tend to be like scrappy entrepreneurs who are trying to bootstrap their own thing. And, I get more satisfaction out of helping them than I ever did helping larger, law firms to get more clients and things of that nature. Right. So, so it's definitely 2-pronged. And then the other thing is you're right in that because I've been through the sales process, right? I kind of did see some gaps there. So that's another, kind of reason that I made that decision. Plus, we built a phenomenal case study around one client before we ever went to market, right? And built a system around them. And now because we get, feedback from so many different clients, we're continually refining that system based on real-time feedback.
Got you. Now, you've been running my Facebook ads. And before I even ask the question, guys, yes, he has been running my Facebook ads. People ask me all the time. I've had people ask me like, yo, keep it real. Are you just saying this because you're sponsored? He pays you. Like, if you are, like, just keep it, keep it 100. A lot of us, we hear what you say. You influence some of our decisions. And this is like, no, I legit use James to do my Facebook ads. The only money exchange is me going, hey, bro, you did a phenomenal job. Thank you. Here's your money. It's not like, hey, Dave, can you say good things about me for X, Y, Z? I think guys should know more. At least some of the businesses know. If they come at me with that approach where I haven't personally used the product or the system, I'm like, hell no, I don't play that. Go down the road to the next chump. But that being said, you've been running my Facebook ads. What would you say has really worked well for me specifically?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of different things. I mean, obviously, your work is good, right? And your images and videos are very good. As a standalone, without us doing anything to them, right? But we
Thank
also
you.
know how to take that stuff and position it in a way where it looks its absolute best, and it's formatted in a way where it's likely to convert somebody who's suffering from hair loss into a lead for sure. But the biggest thing, right, is that you're comfortable on camera. And even, when we have artists who are uncomfortable on camera, when we're able to get them out of that comfort zone, even if their first one or two or half a dozen or, a dozen videos are not as clean as maybe yours would be, it makes a big difference. And they don't have to have a setup like mine or yours in order to make it work, right? They can shoot it on an iPhone. And you already know we have very, very good editors. We're not doing half-assed editing or anything like that. So our editors have a way of making the artist look good, even if they're not necessarily using the best equipment or comfortable on camera.
Yeah, and I'm gonna in a couple of questions down. I'll kind of want to get into that whole like camera being in front of the camera because I know that's something that you are like you stand on it. So I'm gonna get you in there slowly because I feel like we're gonna
Okay.
spend a lot of the time
Yeah.
discussing that, and I think that's where we're gonna really be able to extract a lot of value out of you for these guys, for these artists. So on the flip side, are there any other strategies or ideas that we've tried that just didn't work for my brand or my audience? And I'm putting it specifically towards me because one, we do work together, but I get these questions all the time. Like, what is it that I'm doing that's allowing me to be successful? So I want them to hear it from the horse's mouth itself.
Yeah, yeah. So the great thing that is happening with our campaigns that we're running together is obviously we kind of have some proven formulas for content, like for images and videos and things of that nature. Obviously, we come up with our own ideas and write scripts for you and things of that nature. But then you also have your own unique things and your things that have already popped organically, right? So obviously, when something pops organically on Instagram and then we take it and run it as an ad on Instagram, there's a high likelihood that that's going to succeed, right? So that's an example of something that's working really well. Sometimes things that don't work well are really what tends to be conventional wisdom when it comes to Facebook and Instagram advertising, because at this point, a lot of the advice that you hear if you go on YouTube or you're trying to figure out how to run your own ads is, hey, don't do any targeting, just leave everything wide open. And in my experience, at least, especially if you're on a lower budget, right, that for scalp micropigmentation specifically, that mindset doesn't really work, right? Because you're in kind of a local, radius around your physical location. And if you're on a lower budget, you kind of want to give the platform some guidance as to who they should be targeting so that you don't just have to spend your way to finding the right audience, right? You kind of want to give it a little nudge in the right direction. So that's something that we'll still test wide open targeting, right? With every campaign, including yours. But a lot of times it doesn't end up being what works the best. If it does, then great. We'll spend more money on it. But I would say 9 times out of 10 when we test different interest targeting or, retargeting your existing audience, which is another thing that works really well for you specifically because you have so many organic video views, we're able to continue to serve those specific people ads on those platforms, right? Which is another reason why people need to get in front of the camera more. But that's really what I would say as far as what's working well for you specifically. And maybe what didn't work so well was kind of that, broad, wide open targeting, just kind of trying to let Facebook and Instagram choose who to serve your ads to versus, being a little bit more specific in terms of retargeting your existing warm audience or maybe using some proven interests that we already know work well.
I also know, and I didn't know if I was gonna bring this up because I was kind of like, all right, this is like, you got the sauce, and then there's like the secret sauce, but it's like whatever.
Yeah.
This is what we do, right? We like to provide value. So I remember when we spoke, one of the things that I was very adamant about, I was like, James, I want to run my ads, but I only want to run them on a 10-mile radius. And I remember you were kind of like, really? Because I guess so many artists have this like misconception of like, well, you know what? I'm here in New York. I want people in California to know who the hell I am. And
Mm-hmm.
if correct me if I'm wrong, if my thought process is on the right track. For me, I tried that and I just wasted money because what I essentially did was inform a man who's experiencing hair loss in California that scalp micropigmentation exists, and then he jumped on a search engine to find the closest SMP artist to him and to start doing his research because he ain't flying his ass all the way over to New York. And I feel like so many artists think, I mean, listen, that's like the ultimate like stamp of like, yo, I had someone fly out from across the damn globe to come see me. But in terms of marketing and ad spend, do you think that that's an effective strategy?
You bring up a great point. So what you're alluding to can be something that does happen to artists, right? Where they get someone from 5 states away or a different country or whatever the case may be. A lot of times that's what your organic content is there for, right? Because you have no control over where that goes, but you're also not paying to serve it to those people, right? So
Sure.
when you are paying to serve your ads to specific people, you might as well try to give them as few objections as possible, right? And one of the objections, which is what you're bringing up, is like, hey, if they're only 10 miles away, even if there are other artists in your area, it's not a factor, right? Because they're close enough to you. So if they like you, they like your vibe, they like your portfolio, and you end up following up with them in a timely fashion and getting them on a consultation, you're going to likely be able to close them because they're so close, right? Whereas, getting people from further away is definitely possible, but you're essentially building in more objections, once you get that person on the line. Plus, the reality is, if your budget isn't huge, then why would you spread it out that far when you don't need to, right? Like at the end of the day, if you have 1 million people in a 10-mile radius or 500,000 people in a 10-mile radius, and you're only spending 10 or 20 or $30 a day, like you're not going to exhaust that audience anyway. So why would you broaden it at that point? And you are right, because when I tell an artist like, hey, it's going to be like a max of 50 miles, and it'll really depend on the population density in your area, we might not even need to go that broad. They're like, oh man, I want the whole state, or I want this. It's like, all right, cool. So spend 10 grand a month on your Facebook and Instagram ads, and come in at our highest package, and then I'll give you the whole state. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, I don't want to spend that much. It's like, right, but so if you're not spending that much, then let's keep it in a smaller radius. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to call it, and I believe like I even told you that I was like, I just want to be the like local hometown hero. I like want to go to the store and people look at me and be like, oh, that's this fucking dude that has like the funny ad with like hair loss. And it's effective because I believe like I've told you or I've told your team, I was at the supermarket and I had a firefighter. I'll never forget this. I was in the bread aisle. He walks up to me. He goes, yo, are you the fucking guy wearing that bald wig talking about like you did a hair? And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, where'd you see that? Like, do you follow me on social media? He was like, nah, bro, I was on Facebook and someone sent that to me. And then he takes off his hat and he's like balding and he's like, you fucker. Like people have been dissing me, sending me your ads. So, like I laughed with him, shook his hand. But when I turned around, I was like, yeah, like this is it. Like it's working.
Yep.
So,
and then that's where you could be like, yo, and we have a first responder discount. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, listen, I finessed it. I converted. I converted that. I just didn't want to. I don't want people like, oh, now he's talking shit. Now he's bragging. Yeah. But yeah, I converted that easily. I was like, look, brother, I'll take care of you. I'm probably law enforcement myself. Come right in. So why is it that you think that certain ad strategies work for some SMP artists but not others? And I'm asking that because we're using me as a reference, but that doesn't necessarily mean for an SMP artist who's listening to this and tries to implement my strategy, right? They call you up, James. I heard the podcast with you and Dave.
Yeah.
That's what's working with him. I want that same exact strategy. Like, what are the main factors that are going to influence success?
Yeah, so there's several for sure. The region is definitely a factor, right? Because certain regions don't have many options as far as artists are concerned. Other ones have a lot of options, right? And then the other thing is the portfolio. I mean, at the end of the day, your work is your work, right? The portfolio is going to be a factor for sure. And then the other aspect of it is the sales ability of the individual who's taking the calls, right? I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, you like to think that scalp micropigmentation sells itself, and to a certain extent, it does, right? But you still have to ask the right questions to guide that person to the answer that you want them to arrive at, which is that scalp micropigmentation is the right fit for them, right? So those are definitely factors, and not to keep dwelling on the same thing, but the other thing is, I've seen, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we started running top lines ads in 2020, right? And we have people right now in 2025 that have been in the CRM since 2020 that are closing now, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other factor is like, are you really giving yourself enough time to actually build a pipeline and continue to nurture those leads by sending them, text messages and emails, not just to say, hey, are you ready to get started? But hey, check out this client's transformation, right? And then when you do a Spanish guy and a white guy and a black guy and a white girl and a black girl, eventually you're going to have an example that matches that lead that's been in your pipeline forever, right? And they're going to see that and they'll be like, oh man, that person looks just like me, right? Like this is what I was hoping could be achieved, but I wasn't sure if it was actually possible with SMP, and now I see it. So now I believe it. So now I'm ready to convert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You said about this whole 5-year thing, and I have this saying. I don't know if I'm not a marketing professional. This is not what I do. I know people just like, yeah, you got it down packed. It's like, no, it's just my strategies that I've popped up into the air have been working. But I have like this saying that no money that you spend on ad spend necessarily goes unspent. And you kind of like alluding to what you just said. You have people 5 years from now that are deciding, you know what, SMP is for me. And that all could have stemmed from them initially seeing your Facebook ad 5 years ago and maybe started doing their own research, but still had you in mind. And now that they've got all the information they need, they're like, you know what? I remember seeing this dude's ad, whatever, 3-4 years ago. Like he was the one who put me on to SMP. Like I'm going to go with him. Like I always say that. Do you think that there's some truth to that, or like we should still
I
be
do.
I know you gotta still nurture the leads, got hot, cold, warm, you treat them accordingly, but like do you feel like there's truth to that there necessarily no money spent on ad spent, that no money goes unspent on ad spent? At some point it circles back around.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, all advertising works, right? It's to what degree does it work at the end of the day, right? Because, you only have a select number of ways that you can let people know that you now offer scalp micropigmentation if you're a newer artist, or even if you're an established artist who maybe never had to advertise in the past, but now you do because there's more options in your area or whatever the case may be. You only have a select number of ways that you can let people know about it. You can either tell people right? That's obviously your personal network. Tell people you don't know. That's like cold outreach, going to barbershops, whatever the case may be, right? Or you can post organically like you do extremely well, right? Or you can pay to run ads, right? Those are really that's the 4 categories of ways of letting people know. And, you have, so when you spend money on ads, you're basically getting inputs, right? Without doing manual work of actually telling people, right? Now, in an ideal world, you'd actually hit all 4 of those things, right? Which I'm sure you probably do some form or fashion of all 4, right? And that's when you really get your acquisition running like a well-oiled machine. But, ultimately the fastest way and the most leveraged way that you can possibly let people know that you now offer this service is to pay to, put yourself in front of their eyes, right? So whether or not, you're converting people in the immediate term, you are generating interest, whether you realize it or not, right? And this goes back to kind of like the too broad of targeting idea that you brought up earlier. Well, let's shrink that down. Let's say we are only targeting a 10 or 20 or even a 50-mile radius, right? So
Right.
on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, what you're doing is you're creating interest because you're introducing scalp micropigmentation to people a lot of times for the very first time. Because let's be honest, I mean, if you walk down the street and ask 10 random people, definitely 5 of them still don't know what scalp micropigmentation is, right? So you're introducing or creating interest on those platforms, right? And then on Google search or Bing or even ChatGPT now or whatever the case may be, that's where you're capturing the interest, right? That you've created by planting that seed in somebody's mind on one of those other social platforms, right? So that's kind of the way we like to look at it from a holistic standpoint, is that you're creating interest, on Meta, on TikTok, on YouTube, et cetera. And then you're capturing that interest on search, whether it's via SEO or paid advertising on search or even, AI language learning models now as well.
What's one of the biggest mistakes that you see SMP artists make when they run their own Facebook ads? I knew it was gonna get a smile out immediately because I'm like,
Yeah.
I know your job essentially, like as a marketing business, is to study us and see how we maneuver, right? Because that lets you know, like, all right, it's time for me to Superman.
Yep.
Hey, man, this is what I can do for you.
Yeah.
So, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see happening right now?
Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake is, everybody likes to run DM ads because they're very easy to set up and launch. But man, so
What
here's the thing
exactly
with,
is that? If you don't mind, just elaborate on.
direct message ads, like, so it goes straight to Facebook Messenger or Instagram DMs. So here's the problem with that. The algorithm is very it's binary, right? It's yes or no. Did I get a lead or did I not get a lead? That's all it knows, right? So when you're doing a DM ad, anybody who DMs you that's considered good as far as the algorithm is concerned. But I've seen people literally DM people for no reason to say, I don't want this, right? So they see a DM ad in their feed. I don't need this. Like, why did you take the time out of your day?
Why am I seeing this?
Click on my ad to tell me that you don't need this. I don't understand why you're doing that, right? But Facebook's algorithm, Instagram's algorithm is not reading the context of that message. It doesn't know that wasn't a good lead. It just says, I got this person to send this business a message. So that's a win. That's a check mark in the good column, right? Whereas if you use some type of filtration, which is what we do, right? You can still collect all the leads, right? But what we do is if the lead is qualified based on the questions that we ask them, that's the only time we fire a signal back to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform we're talking about, to say, good job, you got us a lead, right? So even if it's an unqualified lead, we'll take the person's name, phone number, and email, right? So that we can nurture them for the future, but we're not firing a conversion event back to the platform to say, good job, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to optimize for more of those people. We don't want to optimize for more people who say, how long does it take for my hair to grow back? Or someone who wants to DM us to say, this is bullshit or whatever the case may be, right? So that's honestly the single biggest mistake is running those DM ads. Now, the thing is, they can be really easy for people to launch on their own, and they can definitely be effective, right? But they take a lot of nurturing, especially if you're doing it manually, if you don't have any automation or AI helping you to manage all those conversations. And of course, that depends on your budget and things of that nature. And that goes to the other portion of it is there's a lack of scalability there. So let's say it is working, because I actually had this conversation with someone yesterday, right? newer SMP art. Well, not newer. They have a little bit of a portfolio. They're running their own ads. They're running DM ads, and they're like, well, when I spend X amount, I'm getting X amount of clients. And I'm like, all right, cool. So what has stopped you from just spending more? Like, why are we even on this call right now? Right. And they're like, oh, well, it's too many messages for me to respond to get to that. Right. So that's why we're on the call. It's not because their ads are not working. Right. So, and that's what I want to make clear, David, because somebody might hear me say, oh, running DM ads is a mistake. And they're like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I run DM ads and I close deals out of it. You may very well do that. Right. But the example that I gave is a real world example of somebody I spoke to literally yesterday. Right. They're located in Texas. And honestly, the cost that he's getting is good. Like, it's good. So I said, man, what's stopping you from just, instead of spending $1,000 a month, why don't you just spend $2,000 a month and not even hire me? Right. And when I put that question to him, that's when he said, well, I wouldn't be able to handle all the messages. And that's where we get to the root of the issue there. You know what I mean?
Ever wonder what keeps me focused and energized during long SMP sessions and Scalp Solutions podcast? It's Wava Water. Wava isn't just water. It's a whole new experience. It combines lightly caffeinated sparkling water with binaural beats of sound frequencies and music. Together, they help boost creativity, productivity, and focus. And here's the best part. It's as refreshing as it is delicious. So whether you're creating that perfect hairline for a client or tuning in to elevate your SMP game with the Scalp Solutions podcast, Wava Water keeps you refreshed and ready to perform at your best. Because great work starts with great tools and great hydration. Wava Water. Refresh your focus, boost your confidence. Find out more at wavawater.com.
Today, I want to talk to you about something crucial for your SMP business, where you get your tools. It's not just about having the right tools, it's about getting them from a source you can trust. And that's why I recommend Palms Fashion. Palms Fashion has been serving professionals since 1991, right here in the heart of New York City. As a family-run business, they've built a reputation for providing new and authentic products to licensed professionals around the world. And now, they're taking it a step further by offering scalp micropigmentation supplies so you can get everything you need in one place. They're an official distributor of the biggest names in the industry: Andis, Wall, Babyliss, Stylecraft, Ink You Care, and more. These are the brands we trust to deliver flawless results, and Palms Fashions ensures you're getting genuine products with full warranties, plus S&P supplies you need to keep your business running smoothly. Your tools and supplies are an investment in your craft and your success as an S&P artist. So don't just buy from anywhere. Trust the experts at Palms Fashion. Whether you're in New York City or shopping online at palmsfashioninc.com, they've got everything you need to take your business to the next level. Remember, trust the best, trust Palms Fashion.
So he doesn't have the systems behind that to even keep up with all the leads that he's generating.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
So for someone who's just starting out, right, with a limited budget, what's one high impact ad that they could run to start attracting leads?
Yeah. So I what I like to do, because we're talking about someone who's just starting out, who maybe doesn't even have a portfolio or is fresh out of training. Maybe they have some footage of them working.
Yeah, let's go with straight up fresh out of training. Let me elaborate on that. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to put that person on camera. And why would I want to do that? Because ultimately, that's the only advantage that they have is, like, they're going to be able to put themselves out there and hope that somebody sees them on camera and vibes with their personality, right? So I like to script something out for them. We'll mix in whatever footage they have from training as B-roll as they're talking and things of that nature, right? So it's not like they've never done it, but at the same time, we're really going to try to display that person's personality so that somebody on the other end of the screen can see their personality and vibe with them, hop on a consultation with them, continue that, and then hopefully convert into a paying new client, right? So that's what I like to do with newer artists, is to get them on camera as soon as possible, even if it's uncomfortable for them, because that's literally the only advantage that they have. Because if there's other more experienced artists in their area, I mean, it's going to be tough unless it's literally somebody who's just a bargain hunter who's just looking to cut costs or whatever the case may be, which obviously I'm sure we'll kind of get into that at some point during this podcast as well.
For sure. So like getting in front of the camera, right? I know that's your thing. That's my thing. That's our thing. Like we know it works, is effective. I'm a product of it. How important do you think that is to have a strong brand or a visual identity when you're running ads? Now it's specifically for the ads.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Oh, looks like my light just died. Sorry.
Oh, you ran out. We're gonna have to take care of you. We're gonna have to get you the good light. We're gonna
what do you call it? Basically, I think that it would always help, right? So like even with an artist who is established, who has a strong portfolio, if they're not in front of the camera, they could be doing better than they are if they started getting in front of the camera, right? So it's not just for beginner artists. It's also for established artists who maybe, were used to just kind of getting leads and clients on autopilot just because they were the only choice in the area. And now have to kind of compete with, some other artists that have popped up in their area. I mean, that can easily be something that, changes, where they're at to where they're looking to go, right? Whether it's getting back to where they once were or even exceeding, the volume that they were accustomed to in the past. I think making that one shift, because, I mean, I have actually one real good example of a guy who's been established, I think, since like 2018. He was trained by Jonathan, but he's actually in Australia, right? I couldn't get him on camera for the life of me. He was just uncomfortable, right? And we finally started getting him on camera. Literally, like everything is performing better. Everything, not just his organic socials, not just his, not just his social ads, even his search ads. Everything performs better now that he's on camera versus when he wasn't comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's definitely game changing. What kind of content do you see converting best in today's like ad space for SMP? Is it before and afters, testimonials, educational, etc.?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, I think before and afters are just necessary, right? Whether they convert the best or not, they're just necessary because you're literally able to display your work. And also, David, you might remember this. There was a time where they wouldn't even let us run before and afters, right? So we're actually in a really good time right now because Meta actually, knows what SMP is at this point. Whereas there was a time where they thought our before and afters were fake, right? Which obviously they never were, but they essentially
makes the
thought
people feel bad.
Yeah. But they essentially thought we were like sensationalizing the before and afters. And at this point, we're actually able to use those. So that's just kind of like before and after static images with good graphic design on top is just a necessary part of your repertoire. I still like to run B-roll style ads where it's like the artist working and, video before and afters. I love reaction videos when you can get somebody seeing their hairline for the first time. That's always great. Video testimonials, if you can gather video testimonials from your clients, are always impactful. Obviously, I've had a great time testing some of your more funny meme style creatives, which whether or not they convert directly into leads, they definitely are getting more views and more shares, which then grows your audience that you can continue to retarget, right? So when I talk about retargeting, I don't want to be overly technical, but ultimately, whenever you hear me mention retargeting, what I'm talking about is continuing to serve ads to people who already know who you are somehow, right? They've either engaged with you on Facebook, on Instagram, or been to your website in most cases, right? And we take those people and put them into a specific audience and continue to serve them ads on Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube, TikTok, etc.
Let's talk about something that I know you push, and I've been waiting to like get it. There's so many. I don't want to just this, but I know we know it's super important, right? Getting in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two part for you. why is this so important for artists? And can you share with us an example of an artist that you've worked with who was hesitant at first, but they saw results after showing their face or voice on camera?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We actually have several examples. I just alluded to one of my clients in Australia, but that's actually not the example that I'm going to use for this specific scenario. But the reason it's so important is because I mean, a lot of times people are like overly leery of scams, and rightfully so, right? There are a lot of scams out there in the world. And because of that, if all they're seeing is like a static before and after image, they don't know the person behind, you know, who's produced that ad, who's running that ad, who created this result, right? And that's exactly what being on camera gives you the opportunity to do, right? Um, and someone who I know you've had on the podcast, somebody who's been our client for a couple of years, who's a great example of this, is Erica from Fort Worth SMP, who I believe is probably one of the busiest artists that there is, period, out there right now. And a big part of that, right? Because obviously she's an amazing artist. She was already an amazing artist before, we ever worked with her. So I'm not here to take any credit from that. But one of the biggest things that we helped her to do, other than kind of putting the back end infrastructure in place for her, is get her to actually start to be on camera, right? And we didn't do that for her by any stretch of the imagination. She, kind of took the initiative. I'm pretty sure she said she also asked you for advice because you're the OG when it comes to SMP organic content. And she has grown massively from that. So now, again, her paid advertising outperforms what it used to and also outperforms other competitors in her area. And she is in a competitive area. And her organic content gets a lot of traction in and of itself as well, right? So it just benefits so many different facets of the business to, to have the actual artist on camera like that.
Yeah, and she kills it on TikTok too. I have an inside joke with her. I call her Master Erica Martinez because we're gonna be we're gonna be in Vietnam together
Oh yeah.
in a couple of weeks. And in the group chat, they always refer to her as Master Erica Martinez. So like anytime I text her or I send her a DM, I'm like, hey, Master Erica Martinez, like, how's everything going? All right.
Uh,
So how do you know when an ad is working, and what's the process of scaling it from there?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So for us, regardless of platform, there's four things that we like to look at, right? None of them have anything to do with click cost or how many clicks or cost per click. We don't look at any of that top of funnel stuff. We used to at the beginning, right? But right now, all we focus on is how many leads do we generate? What's the cost per lead? How many consultations do we generate? What's the cost per consultation? How many consultations showed up? What's the cost to get a shown consultation? How many of those shown consultations converting it into paying new clients? And what's the cost to acquire a new client, right? So that sounds like 8, but it's really 4 things, right? Leads, consultations, shown consultations, and closed new clients. Those are the 4 metrics that we care about the most, right? And the reason we look at it that way is because it can be deceiving, right? Like sometimes you can have a campaign or a targeting group or an ad that's producing $2 leads, and 50% of them are booking consultations, but none of them are showing up, right?
Right.
Or sometimes you can have a ad that's producing $30 leads, right? And 50% of them are showing up to a consultation. So now it's $60 to get a shown consultation. And let's say you close 1 out of 4, right? So that's $240 to get a paying new client, right? And establishing what that acquisition cost is goes into your next question with regards to scaling it, right? Because once you know, okay, every time I spend $250 or every time I spend $500 or whatever the number ends up being for you in your region with your portfolio and your creatives and your ability to close, that's, once you have a large enough sample size, you could say, okay, so that means then what I need to do is spend this amount as frequently as I can while maintaining, that cost of acquisition, right? So let's use $500 as a way to make the math easy, right? So let's say
Right.
every time I spend $500 on ads, I get a paying client. Well, that ties into what you and I have joked around about not randomly discounting or not undercutting, right? Because if you're undercutting, you can't afford to spend $500, right, to acquire a client, because then there's not enough margin left in it for you to actually pay yourself and all the other expenses and overhead you might have with regards to rent and machines and ink and needles and things of that nature, right? So yeah, so the first thing you want to do is kind of establish what that acquisition cost is, and look at which targeting groups and which creatives are actually producing the best costs. As far as really, showing consultations is a very good metric, right? Because if you're getting somebody to show up to the consultation, and whether that's in person or virtual, and you're meeting with them on FaceTime or they've sent you pictures and you're having a phone call with them, that's when you have the opportunity to actually convert a lead into a paying client, right? So that's really a very, very good metric to look at, is what does it cost me to get a shown consultation? And then out of those shown consultations, how many am I actually converting into paying new clients? Because that's where you're going to have like a mathematical formula that you can use to scale.
What is your take on boosting posts versus running actual Facebook ad campaigns through the ads manager?
That's a great question. So boosting posts, it's going to tie back to what I talked about earlier with regards to running DM ads, because most of the time when somebody boosts a post, that is going to be the objective. Um, there's nothing wrong with boosting a post, especially like what we discussed previously, where like you've already validated that post because it did well organically, right? Um, but there's a lot of limitations with regards to what you can do as far as targeting and things of that nature, and being able to actually track what's working and what's not. A lot of times what people end up doing when they boost posts is, if they are using regional targeting, that's great. There's some funny things that I can tell you about Facebook's regional targeting. Remind me to actually bring that back up. But the other aspect of it is, they'll just slam a bunch of interests into one boosted post, right? So let's say, we say, okay, a lot of guys who get SMP have beards, right? Like me. So beards might be an interest. And there actually is an interest for hair tattoo. There's a specific hair tattoo interest. There's a permanent makeup interest. So like, a lot of times what I see when people boost posts is that they just slam like 15 different interests into one boosted post. But then how do you know which interest actually produced the lead? You don't,
That's
right?
coming in. Right.
So that's really a lot of times what I see as far as the limitations when it comes to boosting posts, is it limits what you can do as far as targeting. A lot of people slam too many interests into one boosted post, which doesn't really give you clear visibility into what audience option actually worked for you, right? Um, uh, and just to circle back on that last point, even if you are using Ads Manager and setting up a proper campaign, Facebook has made some recent changes. Meta, I should say, has made some recent changes where even if you're targeting a 10-mile radius or a 20-mile radius, or even a 50-mile radius around your physical location, it'll still serve ads to people on the other side of the country. Now, why is that, right? Why did that start happening all of a sudden? Because this is, an issue that we've seen on multiple accounts within our agency, and we do have a fix for it, which I'm going to go over. But ultimately, the reason that this started happening is because Facebook and Instagram as a platform does want to go broader, right? Its tendency is to want a larger audience to pull from, to make your ads seem like they're performing better, right? But if I'm in New York and I get a lead from Arkansas, like you said, even though my cost per lead is going down, that doesn't actually mean my campaign is performing better, right? So the way that we prevent that is actually by excluding all of the states that we don't want to see our ad, right? So it's kind of a pain in the neck. But essentially what we do is we have a list of all 50 states on a spreadsheet. So let's say it's for you, right? And you're in New York, but you're kind of on the border of Connecticut, and maybe you're close enough to New Jersey as well. So maybe I would exclude 47 states from ever seeing your ads, and then put the radius that I do want as 10 miles around your physical location. So even if somebody does see it from outside of that 10-mile radius, right, they're not in
They're
California,
still within.
right? Yeah. So that's a free trick that will literally make somebody's ads perform better. Assuming that's only going to be possible if you're running a proper campaign through Ads Manager. But if you are running your campaigns through Ads Manager, I would recommend implementing that trick like today. Even if your campaigns are performing okay, that's one thing that we've found that eliminates a lot of. For us, it was client complaints, right? But for an artist running their own ads, it would be their own disappointment is what they're going to be preventing. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, is that what you were referring to as like the regional
Yes.
campaign? Is that what that?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's actually a good gem.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So other than client feedback, the way that I know that this is a real issue is that I'll see like my own clients' ads that are nowhere near us here in New Jersey, right? So I'm like, why is this serving here?
Why am I seeing this?
Yeah, why is this serving here? And basically the definition or the way that it used to be defined inside of the Meta Ads Manager is you could either target people living in this area or people recently in or interested in this area. Well, they took away the living in this area option a couple of months ago, right? So now the only option that you have at this point is people recently in or interested in this area. So let's flesh that out a little bit. Let's say you're in your SMP clinic's located in New York City, right? And you're targeting people interested in or recently in New York City. Well, how many people is that don't actually live in New York City, right? Or that could be like a Yankee fan in Florida, right? So they're interested in New York City because they're a Yankee fan, but they live in Port St. Lucie or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So those people are going to end up seeing your ad because they have some loose interest in your area. Does that make sense?
It does, and I feel like that's been happening to me a lot with. I've been getting a lot of truck drivers.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
That is just, and I'm like, where are you from? Because I do have a trailer that has, I have like text on it. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe they saw it at a truck stop. And they're like, nah, man. I was like going through Facebook and I saw your ad. I'm like, where the hell are you? Indiana and shit. I'm like, oh, okay. And they tell me, oh no, I'm in the transportation business. I'm a truck driver. So I'm like, how the hell this guy's picking up my stuff?
Yeah. People interested in or recently in your area will see your ad. That's just the only option that we have at this point. So then we have to add all these exclusions, right? Like I said, for you, it would be like 47 states. Certain people are in a state where they're going to literally exclude 49 states except the one that they're in, right? Now, if you're in a tiny state like Rhode Island or you're butted up against 3 other states or something like that, of course, don't exclude those states. But, if you're in like a larger state, like if you're in the center of Texas, you can literally exclude every other state other than Texas for other words.
Yeah, you good. You got enough bald people in that fucking state.
Exactly.
So for artists that are listening and they're feeling overwhelmed by marketing, which is a large amount of us.
Mm-hmm.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give them to simplify things and just get started?
Yeah, so I think the easiest thing is to obviously just get comfortable with telling everybody they know, everybody that they come in contact to, that they just got certified or, they just started doing this a couple of months ago. They need to familiarize themselves with having conversations about scalp micropigmentation specifically, right? especially because so many people are already PMU artists, barbers, tattoo artists. They already have some type of clientele. And if it were me, I'd personally be telling even people who have a full head of hair, because everybody has a bald cousin, uncle, whatever the case may be, right? So, having those conversations, ultimately what that does is it is going to bring the questions and the objections to the forefront so you can answer them in real time when it's not even a sales conversation. Like there's nothing at stake, right? Because you're just telling everybody about it just because you're excited that you just got certified or whatever the case may be, right? So that's the easiest thing to do in order to get the ball rolling in the right direction, because that's going to give you more content, right? Because answering the questions that you have in those conversations is content. That's what that is, right? And then it's going to make it easier for you to be more comfortable on camera because you've already had the conversation in the past, right? So it's like it's not your first time talking about it. And it's also a real conversation that you had, so it won't feel as scripted or planned out. And obviously, the more organic and the more natural it can feel, the better off it'll do in the long run, right? So that's the easiest thing they can do, is just start having conversations about scalp micropigmentation every single day, to the point where it's like annoying, right? Like, because at the end of the day, like, it might seem like it's annoying to you because you're the one having the conversation over and over and over again. But if you're having it with different people, it's not nearly as annoying to them, right? So I personally think in terms of marketing and sales, that's the thing that's going to benefit them the most right out of the gate. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I put myself in a position where I always have to speak about scalp micropigmentation. I'm never tired of it. Whether it's my shirts that say hairline dealer or ask me about your receding hairline, like I want someone to give
I've
me
been
an
wearing this
opportunity.
since October, bro.
I was gonna say it at the end. I appreciate you, hairline dealer, baby. Everywhere I go, even when I pick up my daughters at school, I have these bald dads looking at me like, this motherfucker. I'm like, hairline dealer, I'm here for you, brother. Give me the opportunity. All I need is an opportunity, and I'm gonna hit you with that elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Before we
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to
Before
say I have a similar story. I go to a gym called D1. It's like an athletic training center. My son goes there in the evenings, and I go there in the mornings because they have like adult, like over 40 type workouts as well. And the one dude, I'm sitting there one day just slugging my water, and the dude goes, "Man, you got a nice hairline." He's like, "That thing looks like it's tattooed on." I said, "It is tattooed on, bro." So
nice.
yeah,
You almost
so
got yourself a lead, bro.
yeah, I believe it or not, David, I get a lot of people who think we offer the service, right? And essentially what I end up doing is parlaying that into a lead for one of my clients that's local to wherever they might be. Or
Nice.
even what I've done also is, let's say I don't have a client in that area, I'll try to see who I think does the best work in that area, and I'll send them a free lead. I'll be like, "Hey, like this guy hit me up because he saw my agency ads and he thinks like we offer the service, but we don't. So here's a free lead, right?" And I've actually closed several scalp micropigmentation deals as well, for my clients at the beginning when I didn't have quite as many. And just like literally set the entire thing up, right? Like take the deposit for them, everything, just set the entire thing up, put it on a silver platter for them. And that is kind of something that gives me a unique perspective on it, right? Because I've been through it as a client, right? And I've also closed deals on the artist's behalf as well. So I've really seen it from all angles. The other thing is with regards to this is more with regards to sales than it is to marketing. But I'm a big believer, especially like this is kind of a tenet that I hold true, regardless if it's me selling marketing services or an artist selling scalp micropigmentation. But I really, really believe that during the sales process, like setting realistic expectations and being honest with the results that you can help someone to achieve is really the biggest thing. Because I spoke to at least half a dozen different SMP places back in 2019. I felt like a lot of them were just saying yes to whatever I said that I wanted. Alex,
Yeah, they just wanted the money.
yeah, Alex from Top Line, I picked one out of his portfolio that I thought looked really good, but the guy was probably only like thinning in the corners, and then he had like real hair, right? So it was like textured. He had like a little bit more length on it and stuff like that. And I'm like, Alex, I want mine to look like that. And he's like, dude, that guy has way more hair than you. Like, yours is not going to look like that. You know what I mean? So
not today.
That level of transparency is ultimately what led me to go with him. And I believe that is certainly a super effective approach, when it comes to the sales side of things for SMP in general.
We're gonna make sure if Alex gets any leads out of this, we're gonna collect. You know what I mean?
Alex and Tim are undercover anyway. They need a little bit of exposure, bro. Hook them up.
Yeah. We're gonna have to bring them back on. I had a good podcast. This was like in the early days with them. We gotta do a part 2 with them.
Yeah.
James, before we wrap things up, if someone wants to work with you and they want to learn more about how you can help them grow their business, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I try to be active on the social platforms as much as I can. Not as consistently as you, of course, David. So I do have a link in bio that'll kind of show some of our case studies and things of that nature on Instagram, or our website, 7figuresmp.com, is always a good place to refer to as well.
And what's the Instagram handle? Are you guys on TikTok as well? Facebook?
Yeah, all the handles are uniform, as they should be. Another free gem, right?
Go.
So it's all at 7-Figure SMP, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Excellent. Beautiful. James, I appreciate you for taking out some time out of your busy schedule to jump on the podcast. Give us a little knowledge on Facebook ads. Give us some gems. If you guys have any questions, now you guys know this is it for you guys. This is who I've been rolling with. We've been working together for a couple of months now. A couple of weeks ago, I reached out and I actually even put it online. In like 2 weeks, I had like 82 leads. I didn't know what the fuck to do with them, but we were able to get in contact with all of them, and I was very transparent with you guys and even with James. I was like, my issue is not getting the leads. My issue isn't closing them. My issue is that these guys want SMP for $500.
Yep.
They want it, but they don't want to pay what it is to play with the boss of hair loss. So, they go on their way, get their $1,200 SMP, then they come back to me looking for some laser removal.
Man. Yeah,
but the proof is in the pudding, guys. James is the real deal. I wouldn't have him on the podcast and pushing him like that if he wasn't. I don't take any checks from anyone. Some of you guys, I've showed you receipts of some of these companies trying to buy me just to say stuff. I don't do that crap, all right?
Yeah.
I put stuff out there that I know is going to be efficient, is going to be effective and valuable to the community, and I hope you guys take advantage of that. And if you enjoyed this podcast, let me know in the comments. Let me know if there was some information you wish I would have extracted from James and I didn't get to, because listen, Facebook ads is more than just a 1 hour long podcast. So maybe we can get him on to do a part 2. I don't know. We'll see about it. He's a busy guy. He's got like 180 clinics he's got to take care of. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, David. I appreciate it. And whenever you do want to do a part 2, just give me a heads up and we'll make it happen.
Excellent. Hey guys, if you want the part 2, let me know. Until then, I see you guys on the next podcast. Peace.
If you're a PMU or SMP trainer, I know you've worked hard to build your own unique training style. So why trust someone else's curriculum? Here's why. Micropigmentation educators didn't just create another course. They built a system that actually strengthens your brand. Their program teaches real fundamentals rooted in facts, not opinions or product bias. Just the kind of foundations your students really need. They take care of the theory, the textbooks, the online course, scoring matrix, testing, even trainer support, so you can stay focused on hands-on education. It's professional, proven, and ready to plug into your business. Check it out at www.mpeducators.com.
What's up, everyone? David Santiago here. Let's talk about taking your SMP business to the next level with Guild Payment Solutions. Cash is king, but what happens when your client doesn't have cash? That's where a reliable credit card processing solution comes in. With Guild Payment Solutions, you can securely accept cards, manage transactions, and get paid faster, whether you're running a studio or selling products online. It's more than just convenience, it's a business upgrade. Credit card processing builds trust, keeps your finances organized, and ensures that you'll never lose a paying client. Don't hold your business back. Visit guildpaymentsolutions.com today and see how they can transform the way you operate your SMP business.